Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today is Julian Sage. Welcome, Julian.
Hey, thanks, Jim, for having me.
So Julian's going to talk to us a little bit about short-term rental and a couple other really cool concepts that I think everybody's going to enjoy. But let's start off, Julian, by just kind of introducing yourself. Give us a little bit about your background, what you're doing now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you said, Julian Sage. I fell into the short-term rental space really through my wife. Me being an active duty military guy, I've been in for about 8 years now. I'm going to be transitioning out to, grow our short-term rental business full time. But yeah, being military, didn't have a lot of money. Tried a bunch of different businesses and failed at them. Trying to, reclaim that time freedom back. And yeah, I was really ready to give up until my wife said, why don't we rent out the basement online to try to save some money? Because I'd spent all my money just trying to, do different things at Forex, crypto, mobile home investing, developed a cooking app, mobile app, and paid a bunch of developers. All my savings that I saved up in the military for that. So I was all out of money at that point. Rented out my basement and quickly found out that I was able to cover the cost of my mortgage. So bringing in like $2,000 a month just off of a basement property. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. All these other things that I tried didn't work out, but this one thing was a little bit too easy. But I spent all my money renovating my basement, and I didn't have any money anymore at that point either. So I started reaching out to a bunch of different people online and found that there was, hundreds, if not thousands of people that were making money off of short-term rentals and bringing in, 5, 6, 7 times more than a long-term rental can. It wasn't uncommon to see people bringing in, 2,000, 3,000, sometimes, $5,000, $6,000 a month off of a short-term rental property. And, I value time, and I value, trying to do the most with the limited resources that we have. So, I said, hey, how can I grow and acquire multiple properties without having to spend a lot of money while also making a lot? And that's where discovered the world of rental arbitrage or master leasing, as well as co-hosting. And then, obviously you can purchase properties, but, I was looking for ways that you could actually grow this business without having to put up a lot of capital and actually start receiving that cash flow. So.
That's really cool. You said a lot there, Julian. I want to get in and ask you about the co-hosting and master leasing, but I want to back up to, something that I think everybody needs to appreciate is, you try things, doesn't work. You try things, it doesn't work. You try things, it doesn't work. The key is to keep trying until you find the thing that works, right? And the tenacity to do that, I commend you for having that tenacity. Obviously, your military background probably helped with that, and the training. What branch of the military are you in?
Coast Guard.
Coast Guard, sweet. I grew up in California, so I always think the Coast Guard. I'm sure I have a false image of it, but I always think that it'd be really cool, some of the rescue stuff, and just I just love the water and love the ocean. So I think that's cool. And I know, by the way, that we have the Coast Guard and some of the lakes, some of the Great Lakes and things like that. But how did you get, just out of curiosity, how did you get into the Coast Guard? What was this? What made you pursue that?
Yeah. I wanted to jump out of helicopters and save people's lives.
Yeah. Nice.
I watched this movie called The Guardian with Ashton Kutcher far too many times, and I thought it was really cool. I actually went to school for that in the Coast Guard. I went to the training. It's this really tough, super intensive water survival training where it's like a lot of water confidence drills. You're working out all day. It was definitely tough. I ended up dropping out of that. And that's, kind of goes into a longer story. found out that my dad had cancer, or
Mm.
his cancer relapsed. I tried getting my time back. So that's when I discovered entrepreneurship and real estate, because I wanted to get out to spend more time with him. And that's really kind of what led me to starting these businesses and eventually getting into, short-term rentals.
No, that I totally get it. How's your dad now? Is he
He,
recovered
he
or?
passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. What kind of cancer?
He had lymph node cancer.
Mm.
So it was all around his throat, and he had his voice box taken out.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry for your loss. The things that happen to us, adversity introduces a person to themselves. And, and you took that pain and you created, some really cool businesses, and the topics that you have to talk about, short-term rental, when you said, Julian, that you can earn 5 or 6 times more than long-term rental, you know, for people in the audience that really don't know anything about short-term rental, talk about why that is, or maybe just some of the economics of short-term rental, just to kind of help people, that maybe the novice out there that doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Short-term rentals is really kind of leveraging, technology. It's building a whole different business, and that's what a lot of people maybe don't realize when they get started in the short-term rental space, is that you're building a hospitality business. Um, and that's why we're able to charge a premium price. So let's say, um, you purchase a property and you were to long-term rent it, you might be able to make, $300 to $500. If it's like conservatively, 300 to 500 net profit. If you were to short-term rent it, you might be able to make $2,000 to $3,000 if you're self-managing. And that's because you're putting the property on platforms like Airbnb, Verbo, Booking.com, a bunch of other travel agencies. You're turning over the property after every guest decides to stay. So the nice thing about these travel agencies is that you can market the property basically for free. So they push out the property, and they have an algorithm that will rank your property depending on how it performs. So obviously, a place that gets booked up, that's always booked up. People are clicking on it and then booking it. People are saving it to their favorites. It's relevant. All these things drive up the algorithm and push you to the top. And then you're able to charge a premium for your stay. But it's also about the experience. So, you could purchase a property, and then one person could be putting in very minimal into the property and not be able to produce that much, versus someone that invests a lot of time and energy and has a good stay, can create a lot more value and charge a much higher price. So where compared to long-term rentals, where it might just kind of be like a set it and forget it type of mentality, that true passive income. With short-term rentals, it is a lot more active, but you can make it passive if you partner with people, which is what I talked about before, co-hosting. So you could work with a management company, with a partner that manages your property for you. So that way you're able to increase your revenue without having to do any of the extra work yourself. Um, or or you build out the team and you build out the systems to be able to try to automate as much as possible. Now, obviously, if you to go that way, you're going to be, managing a business, and you're able to save those fees that you would be paying to a co-host, a professional manager. Um, but Yeah, and so that's really where the difference is from long term and short term. I see a lot of people in the real estate space now, especially, they see what short term rentals are able to bring in. And they say, hey, I'm just going to purchase a bunch of properties and turn them into short term rentals, and make buku money. But there's a lot of work involved with that. If you're not committed to having a quality stay, you're going to get, you know beaten out by somebody else that has a better quality experience. And it all comes down to rank reviews. Reviews are a really big thing. If you don't care about your guests, it shows in the property reviews. So it's not something that just can be passively managed. It's got to be a little bit more active. So, but with that active, you're able to make like I said, 4, 5, 6 times more than a traditional long-term rental.
So I like what you said is that a couple things. One, I always say, whether it's short-term rental, mobile home parks, storage, when you're in real estate, you're not a real estate investor. You're in the real estate business, right? And what I like about what you said, Julian, is you're running this like a business, right? And that short-term rental is a business, but you can also, I have quite a few businesses, and I don't run very many of them. I don't really participate in very many of them because then I hire really good people and they run those businesses, right? And so if I wanted to be passive, like what would it take? Somebody's in the audience and they're thinking, man, I really want to get into short-term rental, but I don't want to do all that stuff. I want to co-host, or I want to do something where I'm not, but they got money, right? They want to put up the money or whatever, or they want to use their financials to get a loan from the bank to buy multiple properties. Talk about how they could work in this space in that capacity.
Yeah, so it really comes down to what, how much capital and how involved do you want to be. Whenever I'm talking to investors, one of the first questions that I always ask is, what's more important to you, your time or your money? Depending on how they answer that, lets me know, like, are you trying to get the highest return, or are you trying to leverage a team, leverage experts for you. So, one approach would be, if you have the funds available, would be purchasing a property and or reaching out to a co-host. Maybe this is another investor that has experience in the short-term rental space that can help advise you as far as like which properties you could be looking at to purchase. That's one approach. That co-host, depending on what they're able to do, can build out the property for you. So, like our company, we go out and we'll actually furnish properties. We have a team that goes out and sets them up. We have a designer, and so we have a system that basically can turnkey a property. If you're going to be working with an investor, you should be working, or a co-host, you should be trying to find someone that is either just going to be managing the property for you, and typically they might charge a lower percentage just for simple management, somewhere between like 15 to 20%. Or you might find, more of an expert, and those experts might be, 20 to 25, sometimes 30%, depending on the market and the property. So purchasing a property is one approach. Another approach is partnering with a syndicator or a fund. So a lot of syndications I see now, especially, are going out and purchasing either like larger vacation homes, or maybe multifamily, or they might be purchasing a portfolio single family and converting those to short term. That's the other approach, and that one is a bit more passive. And I would say you value time more than you value money, because you might be able to see a higher return if you're going to be going out and getting a commercial single family home loan, versus if you're going to be investing with a fund where they might be taking a fee for the fund management, and they might be taking a fee for the property management itself. It is a lot more hands-off and passive, but and you'll have less control over the process. But like I said, it's that time and money value exchange. So
yeah. Julian, one of the things that we advocate a lot is infinite banking. And we try to get people to buy cash flowing assets with their infinite banking. So somebody puts money into a specially designed insurance contract. Because they've done that, they can borrow money from the insurance company up to 100% of the cash value they have in their account. And so then they go buy, let's say they said, okay, I'm just going to use $1 million, and I want to go put it in short-term rentals. And let's say the insurance company is charging them 4 or 5% interest only, right, on that money. I would think that they could have enough of an arbitrage to really make this still be attractive. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yeah.
Do you have anybody doing that? I just out of curiosity.
Um, I know in the real estate space that people are leveraging. I mean, infinite banking. Um, yeah, I kind of look at it like a niche within a niche. Like if you're in real estate, and then if you're in short-term rentals, but then if you're in real estate short-term rentals and using infinite banking, it's like,
Yeah.
it's going to be kind of few and far between. I do know some other people, or at least a couple other people in the space that do leverage it though. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes I look at it's kind of like code generation. It's putting all those pieces together can make it even more attractive, because as your money comes back into the policy, it's available for loan again. So then you can go out and buy another one and another one and another one. And what's happening is then your tenants of your profit from the short-term rentals is feeding and paying the premiums into your policy. And after a few years, that's leveraging, which gives you more money to go put into short-term rentals. So I just kind of like when I visualize everything, it's through the lens of using my banking system, not somebody else's banking system. So, I think that that's just kind of cool. And we haven't really had any syndicators or people, co-hosts, anybody really in short-term rental doing this. So it's really interesting. Just so that I'm not going to forget, but let's just at this point, where would people be able to find out more information about you and what you guys do, and more about this concept?
Yeah, I mean, main website would be shorttermsage.com. So that's our blog or education platform, and ways that people can reach out to us typically.
Yeah, awesome. So they reach out to you, you get back together with them. There's like you said, some free resources. You kind of get to know, is this right for me? Is this not? Do I want to learn more? And then if they work with you, then you have different channels or avenues on how involved they want to be.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. The way that we kind of bucket it is you either want to do it yourself, you either want to partner with someone, so get a co-host, or you want to invest passively into a fund. And that's the way that we kind of break our business down is education, management, co-hosting, and then investing. So
and I like the education. So like, let's say I'm a person that I've got time, and I've got some little bit of money, or I know people that have got money, or I can resource that. Can they come in and be coached by you on how to build their business?
Yeah.
So they can do that part of it. That's the coaching education part. And then all the way to, hey, I got a bunch of money, but hey, Julian, I don't want to know anything about this. You just tell me, let me just give you a chunk of money, and you take off with it, and then you get X return. Well, I like all those different avenues. And I know there are people that I've thought about, a few people in the last week, Julian, that have come up to me and said, hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing some crypto stuff. I'm doing some real estate stuff, and I still need more real estate stuff that's kind of different. And what I mean by different is they might be investing in storage, or they might be investing in, so excuse me. When I look at diversification in real estate, that's kind of what I look at. And what's the forecast of, some of these questions I'm asking, I've read some stuff, but what's the forecast of short-term rentals over the next 10 years or so?
Can't speak on 10 years, because 10 years is going to be quite a lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
But the immediate, obviously we just came out of COVID, and we definitely took a hit in our business. We were able to pivot. So during that pivoting, a lot of I would say the whole market had to basically shift from short-term stays to midterm stays. So midterm being travelers that are typically staying for more than 30 days, so 30 days plus, because Airbnb and a lot of these travel agencies just wiped our calendars, and people are canceling left and right. At the time when we started, we had about when with COVID, we had around 40 properties. So 40 properties that were, personally invested in and managing. Um, but during COVID, we pivoted, and there's been a resurgence. I would definitely say it cleaned out the market for a lot of the people that were more wishy-washy in the space, and it got rid of a lot of the not professional operators. And that allowed us to actually scale, and we actually doubled up. Right now, we're at about 80 properties that we are invested in and manage. But so the pivot from short term to midterm opened up a lot of doors as far as the way that people look at short-term rentals and this investment class, this investment vehicle. And the types of properties that people are staying in has also shifted. During COVID, a lot more of the urban, more metro areas were really impacted. So that a lot of the cities, a lot more people were looking for more of those remote properties. So Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg definitely saw a significant increase. I think they saw like a 20 to 30% increase. We saw a lot of tiny homes were performing extremely well. Yurts, glamps. There's a whole new category called leisure, which came out during the time, business leisure, as well as flex stays or flexible properties. So in our markets, which are primarily more urban metro, we pivoted to more of a flex stay where people could do month-long rentals. So we got a lot of traveling nurses, business professionals trying to partner with a lot of hospitals and companies that were looking to, keep people, in a location for a longer time. And really, I see the future. If we're talking 10 years into the future, I really personally see short-term rentals as being more of this, more of that flexible stay. People are, there's this great resignation that's happening. People are stepping away from their jobs and looking for remote work. They're looking for more lifestyle as opposed to being located somewhere where they don't want to be. And they're looking for properties that can accommodate that flexibility. So apartment buildings that offer flexible stays, management companies like ourselves that offer flexible stays, property management companies that maybe did primarily long-term rentals, opening up a portfolio of short-term rentals and allowing people to stay at their properties, whether long-term or short-term. So really more agnostic. We're seeing the blend where before there was a differentiation between the long-term and the short-term. Now we're kind of seeing it kind of mold together, and I see the future of real estate and investing, more so it catered towards that. Actually, one of the companies that was that has grown significantly. It might be actually one of the first public companies that is more focused on the flexible stay. Is this company called Sonder? So they recently went public on the NASDAQ, and there's a bunch of other companies that are being funded by venture capitalists to basically kind of bridge that gap between short and long term. So, companies like ours, where we're not, venture backed, we're, private investors that we work with. So we're not driven to scale exponentially like some of those companies, and we're more focused on the investor returns as opposed to, just growth. So there's a lot of opportunity there. I see in that more flexible stay.
No, that's really there's a lot of information there, and that was great. It just shows that this market, and I appreciate that because I like I said, I'm doing a little bit in that market, but I'm not at all an expert. So you make me feel better about my investment, but I think it's really cool. And I think that, again, bringing up like younger people today, people in their 20s and 30s, they're not looking to invest in 401ks and having that job that they're, do it yourself retirement. They're not really looking at retirement. They're looking at building a business, being an entrepreneur, building cash flow. And I think that's exciting. And I think that kind of like Zoom, maybe 5 years ago, when we started using Zoom, our if somebody was at a certain age, I won't name an age, but they had a hard time with Zoom, right? I'd go, oh, that person's not going to get on. They're not going to be able to get on Zoom. But now everybody can get on Zoom. I don't care if you're 80 years old or 90 years old, you can get on Zoom, right? And I think that short-term rental is going to happen that way too, because I remember the first time that I stayed in an Airbnb short-term rental, I was like, wow, this is for the price that this cost me less than a hotel room, but yet I've got 2 bedrooms. It's almost, it's not like being at home, but it's in a home, right? So it was a lot more comfortable than being in this hotel space. And, I think you just got to get people to do it once, and then they kind of fall in love with it unless they have a bad experience. But if you're going to bargain shop, you're going to get bargain space, right? If you want it to be comparable to, Four Seasons or Ritz, you can do that. You gotta know what you're paying for. So Julian, give out that website one more time for people. Is that the best way for them to reach out to you, your website?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's Short-Term Sage, shorttermsage.com. And that's
Awesome.
Probably the best way where you can figure out where you see yourself in the short-term rental business. So
I love it. Did your wife come up with that name too? Short-Term Sage?
no. So funny story with that. I started a podcast called Airbnb Success Stories. That was my first podcast. But Airbnb actually reached out and they said, hey, you can't use our name. And the abbreviation was ASS. And I didn't think that was a really good short acronym for Airbnb Success Stories.
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a new name, and I was like, oh well, short term, and then using my name Sage, I was like, oh, Short-Term Sage, and so that's how I avoided the Ass podcast. So
I like it, the Ass podcast. All right, Julian. So if God came down from heaven and told you could only retain the knowledge that you got from one book that you've read, what would that one book be?
it can't be the Bible, can it?
It can't be the Bible. You know what? You're the second person in a row. I normally make that disclosure that it can't be the Bible. So other than the Bible, Julian, thank you and I'm glad that would be your first choice.
Yeah.
So other than the Bible, what would it be?
I'm going to go opposite spectrum of the Bible. I recently read this book called Infinite Jest. Infinite Jest. So definitely that book.
All right. I have not read that book. What's the kind of overall message of Infinite Jest?
It's about drugs, fame, success, depression, really just the hard knocks of life. Someone that starts from the bottom, makes their way up top, goes back to the bottom in rehab, and then comes out of it. So it covers a wide range of topics on just life in general.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Julian. Thank you so much for being on the show. And you really shared a lot of great information, and I think what you're doing is awesome. And thank you for your service as well.